Welcome back to our 2024 WWE Awards. Now, I don't remember if we did it the exact same way last year or not, but this year we are splitting up our WWE and our AEW awards. So the AEW people will not be involved in this one, and vice versa for when we upload our AEW video. But yeah, so all AEW or all WWE people in this video. But yeah, this is just all the best moments of the year, our favorite awards, such as most improved, the best moment, NXT match, NXT star, and so on and so forth. Yeah, we're gonna jump right into it with our first one, and that is the most improved of the year. And for me, I went with Nia Jax. I feel like she was one of those people who kind of came into WWE with this like negative connotation of, oh, she injures people and all this. And as somebody who didn't kind of watch that previous run, when she came back and it was all good and positive, I was kind of like, what are people talking about? She's actually doing really good right now. And it just made me happy about her. And she's doing really good. She's the champion. And this is the most kind of over I think she's ever been in the WWE. So that's my most improved.
Yeah, I like that pick. For me, though, I'm going with an NXT star, and I'm going with Oba Femi. He did have a few matches last year, but this year he started off by winning the Breakouts tournament on NXT, and then has gone on to win the North American Champion. Had a great run with that. Lost the champion. Had a rematch with Tony. Had a great stint with him, and is now going into the world title picture in NXT. So for me, I think he's just phenomenal. He's a guy who I think is going to be a humongous star in the next 5 years. Is somebody who's going to be a great all-time legend, I think, in the company.
Yeah, for sure. Then moving on to our next one, that is going to be the best moment from WWE. Now, this could be just literally anything you want, just whatever your favorite moment is. Now, this one's kind of like a layup one that I feel like everyone's kind of going to agree on, and that is Cody and Roman at WrestleMania 40. Just all the craziness that happened with all the people coming in, and then Cody winning the belt, the celebration at the end and everything. Yeah, this one was just kind of a layup.
Yeah, for me, this is my pick as well. I've never been so emotionally attached to something in wrestling in that long. So yeah, for me, this was, like you said, a no-brainer for me.
And then now we're going to NXT, where we're going to pick our favorite NXT match of the year. And there's been a ton of amazing NXT moments this year. This is the best year for NXT that we've ever seen. At least in my opinion. I didn't watch the past NXT while it was live, but I watch NXT weekly now, and it's one of my favorites to watch of all of wrestling. But my favorite NXT match is going to be at Stand and Deliver, and that is the triple threat match between Dijak, Oba Femi, and Josh Briggs. Just was an amazing, hard-hitting match. Dijak, unfortunately, was released from WWE for some reason after being called up to the main roster, unfortunately. But I think he'll have a future in some sort of company in the future. And I think this match is kind of like a staple of that. Just like a, this is what I could do type of thing with him.
Yeah, that match was, I think, the match that really made me a big fan of Oba Femi and Dijak. And even Josh Briggs, after that match, I was really kind of got behind him. But yeah, I like that pick. I was torn between that, the Fraxium versus Andre Chase and Rich Holland, I think. But yeah, a lot of good matches. But the one I'm going with is the Fatal 4-Way from NXT Heatwave, where Javon Evans, Trick Williams, Shawn Spears, and Ethan Page had a phenomenal 4-way with a very interesting finish. I know that a lot of people can get split between on how they feel on it. I really enjoyed it. Just the uncertainty of oh my gosh, he actually did it. How did he get this lucky? I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, with him just winning the belt the way he did, Ethan Page just kind of falling on top of
Javon.
Yeah, of Javon, and then he got the 3 count, and then he kind of went on to have a good title run after coming from AEW to WWE so quickly, winning the title. Is a really cool moment for him. So yeah, definitely like that pick. And now moving on to our NXT Star of the Year, and this one, I mean, there was a ton of picks you could have went with. There's a ton of debuts in NXT this year. There are some returning people in NXT this year. But overall, I think Roxanne Perez was just the standout of NXT. She had an amazing title run. Her face run was better than I think anyone expected. She kind of felt like more of a babyface person in the moment. But now that she's healed and she's showing what she could do, I've been really enjoying it.
Yeah, that is also my pick. She is the leader of the best women's wrestling division in North America right now, potentially all of pro wrestling right now. So yeah, I think it's just really hard to not pick her just because, like I said, just had one of the best years and is the leader of the best women's roster.
And now for this one, the best talker, best person to do promos, whatever you want to kind of label this one, just the most consistent person who did the best promos, whether it was on screen, backstage, on Twitter, whatever it might have been, just who makes you feel the most. Now there's a lot of picks people could have gone. There's the Drews, the Punks, and all of that kind of thing. And I'm sure a lot of people will probably lean more towards those two. However, I chose to do something different because of kind of maybe it's recency bias, but as of late, he's just been crushing it and killing it, and he's always done good, but now has a spotlight on it, and that is Kevin Owens. He's absolutely crushing it with this Cody Rhodes feud and this heel kind of turn that he's doing. He's kind of taking people out on his list, kind of like a Drew McIntyre is doing, and I'm just really enjoying this Kevin Owens run.
Yeah, I don't mind that pick at all. That would have been somebody I considered. However, I did go with, like you said, one of the obvious picks. That is Drew McIntyre. Just some of the most believable promos, and one thing I like about a good heel promo is when they use realism and they're kind of correct in their actions, but maybe be going too extreme. But yeah, his promos I think this year have been phenomenal. He went toe to toe with one of the best talkers in the world, that is CM Punk, and he delivered some great promos. And sometimes people are going to argue that he had better promos than Punk in this feud.
Yeah, he just recently cut that amazing promo on Busted Open podcast or radio, whatever it is, where he kind of walks off and he just kind of does this like heartfelt message kind of. Yeah, Drew McIntyre, amazing pick here. Yeah, we're going to move on to our rising star of the year. Now this is another one where you could have went a ton of different directions. There was people who were called up to the main roster. There were people who returned from injury. There was people who didn't get a lot of TV time who finally did get TV time. And the person who I chose is Michin for the exact reason of that. Just somebody who we didn't really see a whole lot of at all. In the previous years, we've seen her a little bit in some OC kind of stuff, and here and there she'd be a manager kind of thing. But this year, she's just been amazing. They used her all over the place. I believe she had some time on Raw at the beginning of the year. Then does some SmackDown stuff. Did a ton of NXT things as well. Had a great 6-woman ladder match for the Women's North American title in NXT. Yeah, she just had an amazing year. I feel like she really kind of got a lot of attention behind her. She's in a feud right now with Chelsea Green, and she's potentially run up for the next Women's United States Champion.
Yeah, if I would have picked anybody else, that probably would be my pick. However, my pick is Bronson Reed. At the start of the year, I think a lot of people kind of worried about where he would fall on the roster. Obviously, he kind of wasn't doing too much last year. He kind of had a few feuds, but this year I think he just became a huge star. Really kind of look at the stuff with Seth Rollins, where he hit him with the 6 tsunamis, which led into the Braun Strowman feud they had, where they broke the ring and had these crazy, just hectic big man matches. But now I think he's a guy who can potentially fight for the World Heavyweight Champion, and I would believe it, and I think he was very deserving of it. This year, I just think he's had one of the better years for somebody who maybe had something to prove, and he did just that. I think he confirmed and locked in his spot of a guy who's going to stay around for a little while.
Everything I said about Michin, you could kind of relate that over to Bronson Reed as well. Someone who didn't get a lot of TV time, but just in the flick of a second, he became a star. And now he's somebody like you mentioned that could be a world champion potentially at some point. But we are going to be moving on to our next award, and that is our workhorse, the person who put in the most work, maybe had the most matches, or maybe just in general the person who entertained you the most throughout the entire year. You can kind of go based off that even. However, I chose to go with the person who just had amazing matches throughout the entire year, had a great Mania moment, had pay-per-view moments throughout the entire year, and that is Sami Zayn. He's somebody who everyone's still looking forward to finally winning that championship gold one time. And yeah, he still never got it. He's still on that long chase of his. And this may be the year that he gets it coming up in 2025. But he had an amazing year. Went across all pay-per-views. Took down Gunther as the IC title. As longest reigning IC champion. And yeah, the story with Chad Gable, even the bloodline. There's so much good Sami Zayn stuff going on this year.
Yeah, that was my pick as well. There's not many guys who are on TV weekly who are always doing good work and are not having bad matches. Their promos are amazing, and Sami is like one of those few guys that is fitting all those criteria. Just consistently, just one of the best on TV, and he's just one of the best wrestlers as well. So yeah, I'm just one of the best right now.
Yeah, just this past SmackDown, he had an amazing match versus Carmelo Hayes just randomly on a SmackDown. But yeah, he's one of those people who kind of pull the best out of anyone that he's in the ring with. So love Sami Zayn. He's one of the best. Hopefully we see some gold around his waist at some point in 2025. But moving on to our best non-wrestler, this could be a commentator, a manager, a ring announcer across all three WWE brands. But I chose to go with the rookie, and that is Joe Tessitore. He came in from ESPN role where he did pretty good over there, and he kind of came in the first few weeks, and I was a little skeptical. Maybe after week 1, week 2, I kind of leaned more into being okay with it, but now he's full on my side. I love what he's doing. He's fully part of the team now. Unfortunately, Pat McAfee's gonna kind of come back, and he's gonna have to learn how to reroute with another person potentially. But I think it'll be amazing. Hopefully, he's a fit for a long time in the WWE because I really enjoy him. So different kind of commentating for WWE.
Yeah. For me, I picked somebody who we unfortunately lost. Obviously, she's not dead, obviously, but she is gone from the company where she was at, and that is Samantha Irving. Honestly, my favorite commentator of all time is Samantha, and it's so sad to find out that she didn't even like her job. But yeah, she was phenomenal at everything she did, and it's really a bummer that she did leave and that, you know, she's kind of not on any wrestling TV right now. So, but as long as she's happy, that's all that matters. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure she's gonna crush it at whatever she does next. Hopefully, we could kind of see her at like spotty events, like little one-time things at like a SummerSlam or Mania, stuff like that. It'd be really cool to see her at least every now and then. But yeah, shout out to Samantha Irvin though. Hopefully, you know, whatever she does next is amazing. But moving on, this is gonna be our rookie of the year. Now, this could be someone who just kind of got into the wrestling scene in the WWE, or someone who just got called up from NXT to the main roster. Or maybe it's a person who wrestled a long time, but he finally just got to the WWE, like a Ethan Page or a Shawn Spears, something of that sort. However, I went with a person coming from NXT to the main roster, and that is Braun Breaker. He was already a 2-time Intercontinental Champion. He was the NXT Champion, NXT Tag Team Champion. He's got all these accolades now. He's amazing. The crowd loves him. He works heel and face throughout this entire year. He's just been amazing. His feud with Sammy. Feud with Jay. He's done quite a lot this year, and I'm very happy that he was one of the people that got the big opportunities from NXT because he deserves it. He seems like a really good guy, still really young, and has a lot of just juice left in him that he could kind of pull out to become even better than what he is already.
Yeah. For me, I went with the guy who also won my most improved, and that is Obafemi. Honestly, he had matches like last year, like I mentioned earlier, but I think this year just really kind of found his mold and just is finding out new things about him that really works for him. And I think he's just still going to be a phenomenal wrestler, like I mentioned earlier. So I'm not going to mention too much about him anymore, but yeah, just Obafemi, one of the best wrestlers this year.
Yeah, had a great year. People are already wanting him to get called up to the main roster, so that kind of says enough as it is with that. But now we have the best return of the year. Now, this Rumble, we had tons of returns between the men and the Women's Royal Rumble. We had returns throughout the year from injury, just returns in general. There's people who debuted, all kinds of stuff. But I chose to go with the person who was most consistent after they debuted and returned to the WWE, and that is Naomi. She returned at the Rumble and was consistently on TV damn near every single week. She is now the tag team champion alongside Bianca Belair. With this kind of storyline with Jade Cargill going on, she might be the one that attacked her maybe, so that could lead to a world title shot to her eventually for sure. Matter of fact, she has a world title match coming up on the next SmackDown, I believe. If I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. But I'm pretty sure she has a world title match coming soon. But yeah, Naomi just crushed it all year. It was constantly on TV, constantly in storylines. Her and Bayley have been really good. And yeah, just Naomi's had a great year.
Yeah. For me, I made one of the more obvious pick, and I'm going with The Rock at his return on day one. We had that night where we had Jinder Mahal come out and fight Seth Rollins as this former world champion, and after the match, out comes The Rock, and it was just a huge surprising moment. I think there's kind of rumors leading up to that he might show up, but nothing was actually confirmed. But once he did, it was amazing. He had the kind of should I set the head of the table, and that kind of sets up your Mania stuff. And yeah, just one of the biggest impactful returns as well, I think, which kind of adds more to my pick.
Yeah, I mean, anytime The Rock comes back, it's amazing. He even came back at Bad Blood and did the little 1, 2, 3 little thing or whatever. But yeah, anytime The Rock comes back, that's the easy pick for any award that you want to give him. He could have been the best talker, the best match with the tag team match. I mean, he could have been a lot of different awards just because of everyone loves The Rock. But moving on, we have our heel of the year, the person who is just this demon all year. He was just the worst person. There's a lot of different directions you could go with this one as of a lot of these awards. But I think Drew McIntyre kind of built his spot and deserves that spot. He's done amazing things with CM Punk. He's came back and he's still consistently doing this heel work versus damn near everybody at this point, versus the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa, all that stuff. And then the whole time Punk was injured and he was still active, he kept that storyline alive just by doing these quick little segments with him and Punk and just the back and forth between them two. It was just so good, and I just think he deserves heel of the year for everything that he's done this year in general.
Yeah, for me, that would have been my pick, but I'm going with the guy who may have won this last year. I think he's still deserving. He's one of the guys who is consistently getting probably the loudest boos every night, and that is none other than Dominic Mysterio. Yeah, I mean, just everything he does as a heel is, I'm going to say perfect, because there's even more room to work on his stuff, but he is still phenomenal. He has the ability to get heat so easily just by not even talking. Sometimes when he just grabs a mic, he's already getting booed. So yeah, just what a really great year and for him as well. So hopefully in 2025 we can see some more great heel work from Dom.
And up next we have our face of the year. Just, you know, there's a lot of different ways you could go. Obviously Cody is kind of the boring pick. Everyone knows that one. So I kind of went a different direction with this one. And that is the unexpected one of the year. And that's Jay Uso. He has the whole crowd yeeting, as Pat McAfee would say. And yeah, he's just been amazing. I never expected this from Jay Uso, if I'm being completely honest. He's had a run in the past, a singles run that didn't really pan out. But now they're really giving him a singles run. He's held gold already with the IC title. Unfortunately, he kind of lost it pretty quick, but I don't think that's the last time that we'll see gold on him. Could even potentially see him as a world champion at some point. I think it could happen. But yeah, Jay Uso absolutely crushed it this year. Everyone loves Jay Uso. When he comes out, he even came out last at Survivor Series over Roman Reigns, over CM Punk. So I think that alone says a lot.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go with his best friend, and that is Sami Zayn. One of the few guys who are almost, it's hard to even dislike him, so now when they go to heel, it's going to be really hard to even try to believe that and actually try to boo him. But Sami Zayn, I think, like you mentioned for just Jay, he just has the crowd on his side. When his music hits, they get loud, and he's just one of the most beloved guys, not only for his in-ring work, but just him as a human. He's really beloved, so... yeah, just Sami Zayn, the true babyface of pro wrestling.
Yeah, for sure. And our feud of the year, this is an easy one. I don't have to explain it much. Drew versus CM Punk. Doesn't need too much more of an explanation. Y'all all know how that went and how that kind of goes, and y'all seen it. But yeah, just an amazing feud that kind of led to that moment. All the way from Rumble to the end of the year, pretty much a years-long feud, but in reality is like 3 months, I would say, since he came back from his injury and whatnot. But yeah, just an amazing feud with them too.
Yeah, I also have CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. Yeah, just at the start of it, it was a bit rocky when they had that first match, but after the Four Corners match, I think that was, for me, it was a bit surprising just because I didn't think that the stipulation would allow for a good match, but they still did it. And then obviously the steel cage match. Yeah, that's another phenomenal match to help one of the best feuds in the modern era.
Yeah, and then our pay-per-view of the year. This is another just layup. This could get it every single year when it comes down to it. But WrestleMania 40, obviously, it's the easy pick. It had the worst match of the year and the best match of the year, all part of that. We didn't include worst match of the year, but y'all know what it is. I don't have to say it, but yeah. WrestleMania 40, best pay-per-view of the year for WWE.
Yeah, same pick for me as well.
Yeah, and moving on to our tag team of the year, I feel like this is another unanimous one, and that is Fraxium. Tag team division in general, even in AEW and the main roster WWE, just hasn't been good at all. They're finally starting to pick up the pace a little bit with the War Raiders, with Motor City Machine Guns, the Profits, DIY. There's a lot of good stuff on the horizon, but this year has been the worst tag team booking that I think we've seen in a long time. But Fraxium was kind of the saving grace of that, and you knew when they were were in a match, it was a good match every single time.
Yeah, they did not have a bad match this year, and that is my pick as well. Honestly, if you are not picking Fraxium, then I kind of don't know what you're talking about, because I don't think a single team is even close to Fraxium this year. I think consistently having best match of the night on every show. What more can you say about a good tag team?
Yeah, the only one you could argue is maybe Jade and Bianca, because they did defend quite a bit throughout the year. But yeah, it wasn't nothing too amazing came from that tag feud there. But moving on to our final 2 awards, and that is our Best Woman of the Year and Best Male Wrestler of the Year. And for the Best Woman Wrestler of the Year, I went with Io Sky. Just from beginning to end of the year, she was constantly booked. She had an amazing storyline with the Damage Control, where they were terrorizing everyone on the roster. Then you see the turn with Bailey, where she learns how to speak Japanese, and she started hearing what they were saying behind her back, and then she starts speaking it back to her. And it was an amazing moment there. The feud starts, and Bailey ends up winning the gold at WrestleMania over Io Sky. And then she continues to go on these stories. She went from heel to babyface this year. She was at the War Games. She did her amazing spot off the top with the trash can. But yeah, Io is somebody who I think will have an amazing 2025, and 2024 feels like kind of like a setup year for her 2025.
Yeah, for me, Io would have been my number 1. However, I gotta go with the woman who is leading the best women's roster. That is Roxanne Perez. Consistently having phenomenal matches. Her storylines are very, at least solid to good. And yeah, I think just consistency really, for me, is the key to this award. And I think just being at the top of the division, of the best division, kind of speaks a lot to me.
Yeah, and Roxanne is one of my favorite women in general to watch wrestle. I feel like she's still so young and new. She has a lot to kind of go through and develop through. There's things that she can still get better at too. So yeah, I'm very excited to see what a main roster Roxanne Perez would look like. But moving on to our male wrestler of the year, I went with the very easy pick, the obvious pick. I went with Cody Rhodes. He's just been great throughout the entire year. He had the big WrestleMania moment, the feud with AJ, currently feuding with Kevin Owens. So yeah, kind of the easy pick. But yeah, y'all know all the details with Cody Rhodes, I'm sure, so I won't bother y'all with that. But who do you have?
I went with Drew McIntyre. Like you mentioned, he had the feud with CM Punk, which he did a lot of, like you said, the caring potentially, with CM Punk kind of missing a lot more time doing promotional stuff for other stuff and having so many other ventures he's working on. But yeah, I think Drew just had a phenomenal year, won the world champion, lost the world champion in 4 minutes, and went on to have just a phenomenal year, which probably one of the most memorable, like, just stints for a wrestler in quite some time, I think. And just Drew McIntyre just was phenomenal all year and didn't have a bad match. And yeah.
Yeah, and that is our final reward. We had an amazing 2024. I think this is one of the better years just in wrestling history between both shows, with WWE, AEW, TNA slowly rising up, New Japan putting on great matches. There's just a lot of good stuff going on in wrestling. Even some of the more smaller companies like a GCW. There's a lot of good stuff going on. If you look for it, there's good wrestling all over the place. But yeah, 2024, what an amazing year. Got great feuds, faces, just everything was great this year from WWE, and hopefully 2025 we can continue that.
Yeah, 2024 is definitely going to be one of the most memorable years in pro wrestling. I think, like you said, it could go down in history as the best year. I know we said that last year, where 2023 was the best year. 2024 said, hey, we'll do you one better. In 2025, I can only imagine it's going to be crazy. We have John Cena having his retirement tour. The Tenders of Rock returning and having his stints. So yeah, wrestling is on a very big incline, I think, with a lot of big moments up ahead of us.
Yeah, and that's going to wrap up our 2024 awards for WWE. As I said, our AEW awards will be separated from this, so if you're looking for that, you will be able to find it. But yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next one, and we appreciate it. Have a good new year.